We get that other meeting. I figure we're just doing it for the neighborhood trial.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this town council meeting on Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Call this meeting to order and do roll call. Albert Yance.
Here.
David Harwood.
Here.
Sue Sweeting.
Here.
Doug Matheson.
Here.
And Virginia Powell.
Here.
Okay. All right, if you would, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This last week has been a very unfortunate week for many people, and a sad week. On July 5th, Justin Mullet passed away. He was 35 years old. Justin began working for the town in February of 2012. He worked with water and sewer field ops. He was a heavy machine operator. On Tuesday, July 6th, Michael Steele, the father of Thomas Steele, Thomas, who works for our Parks and Rec department, his father, Michael, passed away. Mike was 63 years old. And Michael had worked for the town years ago. He was very instrumental in a lot of things taking place in the town. He was very involved with Rumpel and other community activities. On July 10th, Erwin Allison, the wife of Will Allison with our landscape department, she passed away at age 42 years old. Will has done a lot of great work for our landscaping department, and so if we could, let's give a moment of silence in honor of these people and prayers for their families. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to pass on to these individuals if they need us in any manner whatsoever. Please contact us. We're here to support them, and I'm sure the community is as well. So our hearts and prayers go out to all these family members for their losses. Okay, moving right along. Approval of minutes, June 8th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And discussion?
I had some corrections that I talked to Hillary about, and then there was a question, Ms. Powell was not on one of the votes. So it was Mr. Blaine standing.
It wasn't here. I put your name instead of hers. It was just a mistake.
Oh, okay.
I fixed it.
Good, thank you. Okay.
All right, any further discussion? No? Albert Yance, how do you vote? David Harwood?
Yes.
Sue Sweeting?
Yes.
Doug Matheson?
Yes.
Virginia Powell?
Yes.
Okay. Minutes are approved from June 8th, July 6th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, sorry.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Albert Yance? David Harwood?
Yes.
Sue Sweeting?
Yes.
Doug Matheson?
Yes.
And Virginia Powell?
Yes.
Okay, the minutes from July 6th are approved. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Albert? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Virginia?
Yes.
Okay, so regular agenda is adopted. Okay, consent agenda. This consists of budget amendment 2021-06, annual tax settlement report and order of tax collection, Bling Rock Community Foundation pickleball tournament, grant project ordinances ARP funds. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do I have
Second.
it? Second. Albert, how do you vote? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And Virginia?
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda moves and approved. All right, do we have anybody sign up for public comments? Do we have anyone that'd like to make public comments? If so? Okay. Moving right along. Still daylight out. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pass this on the regular agenda, crosswalks. I'm gonna pass it on to Shane Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to get my months wrong here, but in the fall, so I'll just say the fall of 2020, after last year's January 2020 winter retreat, we kind of began the process of discussing crosswalks that led us to the fall of 2020. And at that time, we discussed several options with crosswalks in several different locations, starting with the Sunset Drive and Main Street area of town, and then moving to the 221 and Main Street area of town, and then finally discussing a third crosswalk, addition of crosswalks at the Chestnut Drive and Main Street of town. From that time, work began and discussions began with McGill that led to several months worth of work, not only with McGill, but North Carolina Highway Department of Transportation, given the fact that Main Street is a Department of Transportation highway. Those included site designs and engineering work to go into the signals, pedestals, et cetera, that led us to, in June of 2021, soliciting bids for all three crosswalks. We updated the council and the public at our mid-year retreat last week of the process and the timeline. Mr. Chapman is here tonight, and I'll turn it over to him in just a few moments to go over, kind of rehash the PowerPoint and the overview of each one of the areas. We were able to receive one bid, and he'll go through that process again in just a few moments. And the process tonight is for us to present the bid to you as council and ask for you to approve the bid and allow us to move forward. We'll also discuss after the presentation from Mr. Chapman the funding. We're able to put together a project ordinance that you have within your packet and the funding mechanisms that we would like to propose to you all to approve tonight and funding of each one of those crosswalks. So with that, I'll ask Mr. Chapman if he would come up and give an overview of the crosswalks themselves and the bid process.
Thank you, Mr. Fox, Mayor, Council. I do want to review for the public purposes sort of the elements that are going to be in the project, and I'll point to what we have on the screen. This is the proposed improvements at Sunset, and that includes installing new traffic signals and pedestrian signals at the interchange. So there will be pedestal-mounted traffic signals and pedestal-mounted pedestrian signals for the full intersection. You'll have traffic signals posted on the south side on both sides of Main Street and on the north side on both sides of Main Street. And there will be traffic signals on the park side of Main to cover the Sunset side of the intersection. There will also be pedestrian signals. We'll be adding a crosswalk on the north side of Sunset, crossing Main. There will be some change to losing one of the parking spaces on the corner on the north side, on the Sunset side, so that we can put a curb extension there to house that traffic pedestal, as well as a curb extension on the west side, on the park side of Main Street. And I believe with that one, we're losing one parking space that's angled and maybe one, I think it's just one parking space that's in that area right there. And that area will be landscaped, and there will also be extension of the crosswalks. That'll give pedestrians a refuge coming out of the street. So that's what happens at Sunset. There'll be a section of the sidewalk that gets to be replaced there to allow the ramping down for the handicap access. So we'll have full handicap access all across. We will be recoding those crosswalks. We talked about at the mid-year retreat, we took an alternate bid item for doing standing concrete crosswalks, but with the plan to move forward with the utility project, we feel like it's best to wait until the utilities are done and the full roadways repaved before we do the standing concrete. And to that point, as far as utilities, when the water line is replaced, assuming that project goes forward as we've been discussing, the water line will be replaced in the middle of that traffic lane, so it will be outside of the curb extensions that we're building. The sewer will be placed on the east side of the road in the traffic lane. It won't impact any of the curb extensions that we're putting in at this time. As we go to the next one,
Question, Doug.
Yes.
While we're on this one, is there still gonna be no turn on red?
that would be
And
our
if it is,
expectation.
where is that sign gonna be placed?
You know, that's a good question, I can't answer.
Traffic people, maybe?
The traffic people will take care of that. Yeah,
So-
the traffic engineers, Randy Kemp does the traffic signals, and all that's been reviewed by DOT, but I'm not sure that they caught that.
Let us get you an answer to that.
Yes.
As a part of the project, the traffic guide wires, the signal guide wires are coming down, so that's a great question. If they're replacing that or moving that to another.
Cause you're gonna have pedestals over there, so I'm
That's
just
correct.
kinda curious of where that sign's gonna be
It would
placed.
have to be with the signal pedestals in some fashion or another, because it has to, it goes with the signal.
Right.
Great question. We'll get an answer to that ASAP.
That's a good question. What color are you gonna make the, since we're not doing the stamp pavers, what color is gonna be the pedestrian walkway?
It will be it'll be the same color that we have now. We would stay with the gray. The intention of the gray is to match the copper that we have in the paper strip between the curb and the sidewalk.
Okay.
We can change that coloring if that's the plan, but our plan would be to match the rest. It'd be consistent throughout town, what we've done on Sunset.
We can try it and see if people aren't walking, you know, they can't see it, we may have to change color. Blue.
The next is the 221 Main Street intersection. Everything at this intersection will essentially stay the way it is. I mean, I recognize the fact that the sidewalk's new in this area. That crosswalk will stay at the same location. The crosswalk on Main Street will stay at the same location. It'll just be refreshed. And the traffic signal will not change at 221, but we will have add pedestrian signals. You'll have one pole will be behind the wall at Miller Mushroom. One will be just behind the sidewalk on the Spectrum Trail side, and the other one will be here it's showing over near the wall. That one we may have to finalize whether that gets put at the back of the sidewalk or in the paver area. We have looked, there was a discussion at the retreat about some of the extra poles out there. In our first review of that, the pole that's located here, beside the big metal pole, has the traffic signals attached to it. And I believe if the other pole was one back in this area, there's traffic signals in there, so it may depend on how the traffic signals can be moved for that intersection. We're checking into that.
Thank you.
The last one is at Chestnut. And at Chestnut, the crosswalk at Chestnut will stay the way it is. We're adding a completely new crosswalk of Main Street at Chestnut. And this is it's not a mid-block crosswalk, but it does cross where there's no traffic signal. But it will land in the area where the non-parking space is in front of Rumpel. And we will lose one parking space there in front of Rumpel, the last one before that blanked off area. And we will be losing the parking space on the Chestnut side of Main Street, one north of Chestnut and one south of Chestnut to give a sight distance so that the pedestrians can see far enough before they cross the road. This one will have the curb curb extension will be out in the parking place, and we did that to make sure we had ADA compliance. And there'll be a plate over the curb, sort of like a channel that you see up in front of, near Laurel Lane. There's a place where there's a plate where there's concrete trough that goes through there, that you'll cross there because there's so much so much crown on that road. We just basically went straight out so that you won't have to go down and then back up, and that kept us from having to cut back into the sidewalk in front of Rumpel to get ADA compliance. So that's what that area will look like.
Is there a way that instead of losing the entire space on the east side, that they could do a golf cart? Because we had talked about that.
We could talk to DOT about that and see if they're okay with making one or both of those.
Okay.
Okay. So we received on July 1st, we received one bid. That was after soliciting bids from 6 different contractors, 4 general contractors and 2 that were signal contractors. We received one bid. The base bid was $399,823. The alternate number 1, which was to add the second crosswalk at Sunset and Main, was $20,305. And alternate 2 to do standard concrete crosswalks in all those places in lieu of the asphalt was $88,570. Those prices are pretty comparable to the bid estimate that we did. We did an update our estimate right before we put out the bid, and they're within probably 5% of what that number was. So we feel like those are adequate numbers given the construction bidding market that we're in right now. So we think the numbers are good. Green Construction was the low bidder. They've done a lot of this type of work, or the concrete type of work, for the town of Blowing Rock and the whole high country area. They're very experienced and good to work with. They're appropriately licensed. So we recommend awarding of the project base bid and alternate number 1 to Green Construction in a total amount of $420,128. And we would recommend that we set up a contingency in case we run into things that are unseen, or if there's some additions that need to be made, of about 5% or $21,000.
So is the number 475 or 4?
We set up the project ordinance for a total of $475,000.
Okay. They do a good job.
And I would add, given the fact that we only received one, in North Carolina general statutes, bids under $500,000, projects under $500,000 are considered informal. Given the fact that McGill did solicit and document the fact that they were not able to receive additional bids, we are able to move forward with the one bid that we do have in hand without rebidding that project.
Did they give you any idea when they could start?
We're looking at probably, I think probably September or so start date. He said today that we've got to go through a shop drawing process with, the signals are what will drive the final schedule. We got to go through a shop drawing process with the signals, and then it takes about 8 weeks to get the signals. If we did the mast arms, they're about 25 weeks, so we're a lot shorter, thankfully. So what we're hoping to do is through the fall to do the concrete flat work, and then have the signals ready to put up when they come in, so that can be completed before the end of the year.
And given the timeline that's a little bit of uncertainty right now, we'd work with Greens, and they've worked with us. They obviously just finished the work around speckled trout with our busy season, so to speak, and trying to work in weeks and not weeks that we potentially, could maybe delay them if need be with leaf season, et cetera. And they're well aware of that, and we've talked with them about it with other projects.
And one of the things I'll say to follow up Shane's comment, we did call this an informal bid process, but we are requiring the contractor to provide a bid bond, and we do have performance and payment bonds and full insurance and all that. So, and we have our full contract documents, just as if it were a formal bid. So all those documents are in place to protect the town.
I make a motion, we award construction contract for the
Would-
Main Street.
Would, would you like to hear how the monies are broken down before we go
Oh, I
forward?
read it.
Council?
It's up there.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Now,
What do
do
you
we
mean?
have
Now
any further
discuss.
discussion?
What do you mean, Charlie?
So we've been fortunate enough.
Just in reference to the monies,
So
where the monies are going to come from to
Okay.
finance the project.
So as part of accepting the bid of $420,120 tonight that's being recommended, we also have put together and put in front of you and on screen here, Project Ordinance 2021-07, that sets up a project, a total of $475,000 that does include the construction bid, total amount, contingency, and an engineering number. The monies that were able to be allocated towards the funding of this project, you see there in section 4. So for over a year now, we've been reporting to you record numbers in both the TDA and our ABC board. And so what you see in front of you are numbers from this previous year, the year that just ended. So $200,000 in unallocated ABC funds that have come to the town are included as part of this. $200,000 in additional TDA revenues are included as a part of this. So $400,000 of the 475 are not previously budgeted TDA and ABC funds because of the year in which they've been able to recognize. The last two pieces, $50,000 and $25,000, as part of our paving project, overall last paving project coming in under budget, and our streetscape project on Sunset. I think it's important to note, our Sunset Streetscape project, we were able to also fund the entirety of our Moore Street and Chestnut drainage project as well, due to the fact that project was under budget. So this is the remaining piece of that. So in total, $475,000, $400,000 coming from the ABC and TDA, previously unallocated monies received this past year, and $75,000 from under budget end results of our two bond projects and paving and Sunset. So that's the total makeup of $475,000. So no new funds are being asked for, no fund balance is being asked for to pay for these three crosswalks in entirety.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Well done.
Okay. Albert, how do you vote? David Harwood.
Yes.
Sue Sweeting.
Yes.
Doug Matheson.
Yes.
Virginia Powell.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, 10 years, 12 years, been trying to get
Oh,
lighted
man, I'm
crosswalks.
so excited about that, I can't stand it.
That is great. That is fantastic, guys. Wow.
I'm gonna change my name to
It,
Pedestal.
it may beat Bass Lake Sidewalk.
We've called you a
Yeah.
few things, Albert. Pedestal's not one of them. All right, moving right along. Time is, do we need to take a recess? All right. As mayor, I just want to say that I commend council on what they just voted on, because I know for years coming up here, crossing Main Street and Sunset, if you weren't from here, you didn't know where to cross. You didn't know which light to look at, which car to dodge. So I commend council, McGill, Shane Fox, department heads for making this happen and bringing it to fruition. I think coming up, we all know about this, the tourism management plan and so on. And I've heard a lot of comments about more parking. I think that's going to be something we're going to need to focus on in the future, near future, additional parking, which did we just realize we needed more parking? I don't think so. But, let's see. Additional meetings coming up for council, coming up in the coming months. Shane and I are going to work closely on the agendas so we don't end up staying until all hours tonight. I think Doug is going to make some comments on that. Also, it's been mentioned to me that the sidewalk on Morris Street is in disrepair. We might want to consider looking into doing that, taking care of that in the near future. It's been patched and so on, and maybe we need to see how we can clean it up some. That's all I have. Albert?
Well, I just hope we could, as a council, direct manager to begin looking at how much does a parking place cost. I believe maybe somewhat down that road. Is that correct? A little bit?
We are, I think that, you know, waiting on kind of the study to be presented and formal, but we are in discussions already of looking at some potential sites and what each site would hold in the way of, you know, maybe cost or feasibility. So we are looking at some feasibility options. We're looking at some options, feasibility of those options.
And I wish you would confer with maybe DOT plus Chief of Police about all this jaywalking. It's become epidemic and it's dangerous. And we're spending $175,000 here to find crosswalks. I hope we're not going to spend that for nothing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Hartwood?
Just two things. The first being the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. For my benefit, the committee took a little break, caught our breath, as it were, but we're gearing back up. We have a tentative meeting scheduled for July 22nd, meeting with Mrs. Brown to go over some stuff next week, so we'll be reporting back shortly about our progress and next steps. The other thing is, as it's already been mentioned, my heart goes out to the town staff and the losses that we've incurred lately. I'm really impressed with how the staff has pulled together and supported themselves and our community family. And I know Thomas is listening. I have to tell you how impressed I was with Thomas Steele at his father's funeral. And the words he spoke were from his heart, and the courage he mustered to stand up and deliver such an eloquent speech about his father was truly moving. And I wanted to commend him on that.
Very good, David. Ms. Sweetie?
Just thoughts go out to the families during the recent tragedies. Mr. Chapman, good job on the sidewalk, because I know you've really pushed through on that, and I know we've been on you, so thank you. No left turn sign coming out of American Legion is gone by the lower basketball court. And solar, Mr. Fox and I have been working on that, and I've made some phone calls, and just to fill y'all in, the money that we spend per light is $12 per month, and unfortunately, solar energy can't help that because it's a set price, so the only thing we could do is maybe bargain with them a little bit on that. The other thing is being nonprofit. We don't have access to grants, and unless Bremco is going to help us with that. Bremco is building a solar field down toward Caldwell County, and there is a chance that one of the things we can do is bargain with them to buy some of their power. So that would help a little bit. Looking at solar panels is a possibility. One of the people I talked to said one of the things we might do as a council is to change our ordinance, because we are limiting the number of panels you can put on a roof, and that it would be better for us to look at how attractive they are. And so just to keep everybody up to date about that.
Thank you, Sue. Mr. Matheson?
Well, like the rest of them, I echo those thoughts and prayers have been with the staff, and commend them on the togetherness and the bond that they have with each other. Just a couple of things I have is one is as far as the shuttle system goes, we are working now on getting signs placed upon the signs that, the maps that will tell you where you are, and then that was kind of brought to our attention that we were missing. So, we're working now on trying to get, maps added onto the signs. The other thing I had actually was David's idea that he mentioned at the end of, one of our meetings, and, that was, I'd like for us to look and think about putting a ending time on our meetings to where we don't run into the 1:45, that late at night, because I have heard comments from a lot of our, constituents that it is late, it is tiring for them, but they wanted to be here. So I know it's hard for them also, as hard as it was for us. So I would just like for us to, as a group, to think about that in the future, about setting a time limit for us.
What would you think would be good, Doug? 10-ish?
I was thinking somewhere around 10, I mean, would be a good time.
I mean, that's doable, that's easy.
That's,
And then if it ends up being something that lengthy, we can defer it till the next day or the next week.
Albert, when's your bedtime?
Cinderella. Well, I think Charlie's earlier comment is a move in the right direction to scrutinize the agenda. I think that will help. This would be double barreled.
I think unfortunately, if I may check something, the last meeting, that was the first meeting we had where people could be here, or wanted to be here, wanted to, wide open, back to some normalcy. And I'll say I should have scrutinized that agenda more closely. So I accept fault because we had too much on that agenda. And, but moving forward, I think we'll all work together and make sure it doesn't happen again. I mean, my doors were locked. I had to hunt for the house key.
Well, I think it's a real.
Well, I wasn't gonna bring that up.
I think it's a real tribute to the council over the years that this has never come up. That we're not all watching our clocks about what time, and we're here to listen to our town and our constituents. And we care about what they think and how they feel and decisions that are made in this town. So that this is only coming up in July of 2021 is a big deal. So, but we can adjust it however y'all like to do it.
I got a clarification question.
Albert has a clarification.
I just want to ask either Sue or Shane, town regulations for solar panels, I believe, is confined to commercial. I put them on my house and I didn't even have to get a permit.
That's correct.
It is.
Yeah. But we're limiting the number of panels on the commercial.
I understand.
Percentage of the square, yeah,
If
percentage
somebody
of the
wants
roof.
to do it,
Yeah.
it's restrictive economically for them.
We restrict the percentage of the roof itself, square footage of the roof.
What is it, 20%?
Third,
30.
it's a third.
30?
And there is some, isn't there, David, at 444, there's a prohibition against putting them on the front of that building. Is that right or wrong?
There was, yeah, they couldn't be seen from the street or the primary street, which would be Sunset in that case. And a good example of that is they have 12 panels on that building, which generate about half of the power, daytime power for that occupancy. And if they didn't want to come and look for a variance to get more panels, but if they had more panels, they could provide about 100% of their power.
Well, as an architect, and relating to aesthetics, what is the general opinion of the architectural empire about solar panels on roofs?
Well, in California, you can't build a house without one.
That's right. Can't build anything.
Right. So, we can get ahead of that curve or we can stay behind it. That's my opinion. I don't know about.
That answer your question?
I don't know about the architectural fire.
Well, it begins down at 444.
So should we ask the planning board to look at that as far as ordinance wise, or what's the process we should?
Well, it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that the thing is the technology keeps changing, and we may not need as many panels as we in 10 years as we do now.
Well, they do it in shingles now,
Right? You can, yeah. There's actual
roofing shingles.
whole roofs that are shingles in. So I think that we could possibly look at the code that we're not chasing the technology.
Good.
We could probably do that with what we're doing. Because
I think it could start with you and I, and then we can.
and then we can see if, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think,
Because they just embarked on a huge,
right.
I don't know if they're a huge thing, so.
I think y'all can look at
Douglas,
that, make a recommendation.
Did you have anything else to?
No.
Ms. Powell?
The thing I'd like to bring up is, the TDA is having, or Roger is giving a mid, progress report on his, what he's found with the, town and his, meetings with the public and with individuals. It will be Thursday, July 15th at 10 a.m. and it's open to the public. So it'll be about an hour and then question and answers for about 30 minutes after that. So they're gonna videotape it. So if you can't be there, there will be a video. And I know a lot of people have really appreciated that work or for whatever reason, the videos. So y'all are all invited.
And that'll be held here at
It's
Town
here,
Hall,
right?
correct?
Yeah.
It is here, yes.
Here,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Town Hall, at Town Hall. Yep, I'm looking at the email from Tracy to make sure I get it right. Yes, it's out here Thursday, July 15th at 10 a.m. So about an hour, he'll kind of share what he's learned so far with us. And then 30 minutes for question and answer. And please come if you're interested. And please
Thank you.
ask your neighbors to come.
Thank you, Jim.
what will be the scenario after that? Is this is a
You'll come in front of
TDA
us in September, is that
TDA
correct?
function?
It is, so he is hired by the TDA board, and so, but he's not finished, so this is a kind of a mid-report, so he still has time here in town that he's spending, still has meetings and things scheduled, so this is kind of his mid-visit report, so to speak, progress report. So the final report, so when he and Tracy, I don't think is here tonight, when he plans to leave, he'll give another update as far as I know, and then he will finalize his report and report that back to the TDA originally, and then the town as well. I'm sure within the same time frame of each other.
So we get.
And that'll be this fall.
We get
That's
a
right.
VI TDA.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's more than willing to meet like he has already. So the plan was for him to, we'll schedule the two potentially on the same day. So the town and the TDA first, and the town can attend, and then we'll have a special meeting potentially as well for him to report to the town.
Well, I just have to say, he used one word, just one word that's really come across to me heavy, and that was priority. It's a pretty all-encompassing word.
Certainly.
Mr. Mosley? No. And Mr. Fox?
I'll take a few moments and give some updates. First, each one of you made a comment towards the town staff. I would make the comment back to each one of you in every scenario that the mayor mentioned earlier in all three desks. Each one of you had something to do with showing up, sending something, babysitting, whatever the case may be. So I don't know another place that happens. So thank you to you all for showing up and being supportive and showing the staff that you care during these times. From an update standpoint, the budget process began officially July 1st, so we're 12 days into or 13 days into the budget. The audit process has now begun, so as Ms. Norman finishes the budget process, the audit process begins, and so that's pretty time consuming right now, and it'll only get more over the next, say, 6 weeks as the budget audit process comes to in full swing. The parade was mentioned during the mid-year retreat, and I'm not sure how many folks listened to both, but I've heard nothing but wonderful comments about the parade from so many folks that are either tourists or locals. Some have been, attending the parade for decades, I've been told, and just a fantastic job. First parade in a while, almost 2 years, I think makes a difference as well, but then the new scenario and format that we put together with no parking on Main Street has been a huge hit, so nothing but positive comments there, and positive comments on the efficiency in which it was put together and the efficiency in which it was taken back apart. And so I've heard nothing but wonderful things. Bass Lake project was mentioned earlier. We're now 7 years into that project, but only a few months into the construction. I have to say that, or 2 months, I guess, into construction. Drainage work along Green Street, I think, is just about complete, or should be complete in the next couple days. A lot of water and sewer line relocations, even hitting a water line or two here and there has happened, so that project is a little more complicated than what a lot of folks realize. It wasn't as simple as putting a sidewalk down. There was a lot of stormwater work and drainage work, and a lot of water and sewer line relocation work that's had to take place. Retaining wall work, I've been told, should begin sometime in the next week or so, the first of the 2 walls. And so that project's continuing to move along, which is great to see. Just this past week, work began on the Sunset Drive entrances, the landscaping that we talked about now 16, 17 months ago. That work is well underway in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure if you've driven down to that area that you've seen the work that's taken place. In 2 days, we do take over officially from Piedmont on 321, so we do have lingering items that will have to be taken care of in the fall, replantings and things of that nature, but officially on July 15th, which is in 2 days, we will take over maintenance of 321 from Piedmont. There's been meetings each day this week with not only Piedmont, State, and DOT that's walked through those kind of final punch list items. Unfortunately, there's a tremendous amount of replanting that will have to take place, but it's not the right time of year, obviously, to do that, and so we'll have to make sure that we keep our diligence about us with making sure that Piedmont obviously upholds their end of that contract, and the DOT as well. The TDA study, as was mentioned, I think is going extremely well. Roger's been here now for about 3 weeks. He's got a couple weeks left, but I don't know the number of meetings he's had, but it's been a pretty ongoing thing, a daily basis. He's had meetings with individuals, small groups, larger groups, et cetera. So from my perspective, it's an extremely professional study that's going really well, and like Ms. Powell mentioned, this Thursday there'll be a progress report. Green Hill traffic study is well underway. They have been on site in the last week, traffic counts, accident counts, things of that nature. So they've been physically here on Green Hill conducting a part of that study that will be to you next month. And so that project, or that study, is well underway. And then if you've driven past the water plant, you've seen a ton of activity out there with our chemical tank replacement that you all approved several months ago. So that work is in the middle at this point. I'm not sure where we are percentage-wise. I'll say half, but the chemicals have been cleaned up. So for the first time in a while, there's no chemicals at the water plant. That all has been cleaned up, and the floor has been returned back to its original state. Old tanks have been taken out, and new tanks are going in. So that progress is, again, well underway, and I think positive notes are being made there. And last comment, I always make the comment, ABC board was up $68,000 this past month, which is 46%. So they continue to see record growth, just like the DEA.
Could we have a before and after picture next meeting on the water plant?
Yes,
Because the change in there is just phenomenal.
absolutely.
I don't think people realized how bad that place looked.
Yeah, the chemicals themselves, the allium and the caustic, had needed to be cleaned up for a little
The
while. And
cost
so,
is the one that causes the problems. It's the one that crystallizes.
Yeah.
and so to see it now, I was able to stop by yesterday. To see it now doesn't look like the same facility as what it did just a few weeks ago. So kudos to the Gilbert Group who's doing that work, and the Gills overseeing that project as well. I've heard nothing but positive comments from our staff out there who's very pleased with the progress that's being made. That's it.
Wow.
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor, At
Yes.
6:45, I heard a prediction that we might finish early tonight.
Is that in your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have,
Quickly,
do we have a second?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned. Okay. Y'all want to start on the next one?
Y'all have to repeat it.
did you really have a meeting?
Gives them some-
I was 13. So after you sued me,
You wouldn't think it was the biggest house, the most expensive facility.
That's one way to stay in good with the brother.
So,
You what?
did you see?
Can't hear you. Did we figure out the name of that guy?
It's that traffic cone, I didn't know where to put it. I got it down at church.
Yeah,
They probably want it back.
We figure out who that is.
that was mine that I set out for you.
Oh, really? Well, it's in the,
You know, I had a short-term memory.